No, it's not like four, but
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Resurrection Lutheran.
Heavenly Father, in your word you have given us a vision of that holy city to which the nations of the world bring their glory. Renew the ties of mutual regard which form our civic lives. Help us to eliminate prejudice and oppression, that peace may prevail with righteousness and justice with order, and that the assembled men and women from varied backgrounds and with differing talents may find with one another the fulfillment of their humanity. And if you know the prayer attributed to St. Francis, please join me. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Sabers. Goldammer. Dosher. McCardle. Barrington. Bathke. Charks.
Here. Smith.
Here. And Mr. Mayor, I was just going to mention that.
I was gonna-
Oh, you were going to say something?
Yeah, Mr. Barrington had a death in the family. Our hearts and prayers go out to him. Keep him in your thoughts and prayers for the rest of the week. He's dealing with the trying times right now. So that is why Mr. Barrington is not at the council meeting tonight. Is that what you're going to say? Yes. Very good, very good. Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Anything you wish to remove? I will point out, we do have a volunteer board appointment. Ms. Deb Geyer is being appointed to the Bid 4 board representing Kelly Inn. As you recall, we were asked to increase that board by adding 2 members south of the interstate, so Ms. Geyer is one of those members.
And I see that we have people here from the food pantry, and I just was so thrilled. Is this the first year you're doing an Easter one, or have you done this before?
3 times.
3 times. Well, how did it, do you want to come up just for a minute and just tell us a little bit about how it went at Thanksgiving? I know you did a report back then, and see what you're anticipating for the Easter meal this time.
Well, I don't think this will be any different. It worked very well last time to have the disco lot closed, as well as the TMA and Graham Tire. It took us 48 minutes to get rid of 186 boxes. We're planning on doing 200 because we've already have 200 hams. So we're going to do 200 boxes. We figure we should be done in another 4 minutes.
In 52 minutes. So,
Another 4 minutes.
well, I just tip my hat to all of you who do so much good work down there. So thank you so much for helping the less fortunate of our community.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else you wish to discuss? Thank you.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Sabers.
Further discussion? Anybody else in the audience wish to address this? Roll call, please.
Gosher. McCardle. Bathke. Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers. Goldammer.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor, members of city council on an item that is not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken. Anybody wish to address council? Mr. Hanson.
Hello, my name is Jordan Hanson, and I'm here to correct a few of my inaccurate statements at the last city council meeting and some of my other things in the past. So, I had a few inaccuracies, and I'm here to clarify publicly so as not to hurt Bar Engineering's reputation. I had mentioned Bar Engineering had dredged 2 different lakes, Fountain Lake and Lake Altoona. Those statements were false. The truth is, they never performed any dredging work at either of those lakes. Now, I had heard of those 2 lakes at either the city council meeting from the Friends of Fire Steel board members or referenced in the engineering reports used as successful examples of dredging. So I want to publicly apologize to Bar Engineering to clarify my mistake, since they had a lawyer that represents them reach out to me. Someone must have been giving them information that I had said, but never given me any of the information I had requested. Therefore, I would like to state that Bar did not do any dredging on either of those lakes because I have been made aware of they do not actually do the dredging. Furthermore, Bar did not do any direct or ancillary work to Lake Altoona, which I had mistaken because it was used as a similar project on page 57 of one of the reports. My mistake for assuming that it was them that actually performed the work. So please, to anyone listening, in person or on TV, please disregard my previous statements made on the presumed work they had done on those lakes. They did not do any dredging on those lakes. But I would like to further clarify that dredging was in fact done on those lakes, just not by Bar Engineering. And neither of those lakes, sorry about that. Lake Altoona and Fountain Lake both had $1 million dredging projects. And neither of those projects got the water quality improvement like they were expecting to get and like we were expecting to get from our lake. So again, those lakes were not dredged by the previously mentioned company. I just want to make sure that nobody holds that against them, especially with the vote coming up. But also remember that whoever dredged these lakes, at one point or another, used as a reference for our lake, dredging did not solve their water quality issues. I just want to make sure to be open, honest, and truthful with all of my research to the fullest of my ability. I will continue to be as truthful with all of my research and everything else with this issue as possible. And I hope in the coming months that everyone will give me and other voters the same honesty that I'm giving here tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Hanson.
Mr. Hanson, do me a favor, pass that crap. Good evening, Council and Mayor. First off, I'd like to personally and publicly thank, my name is Stuart Hanson, by the way, publicly thank Mr. McCardle for being 100% honest when it comes to the dredging project. So far, he's the only one that stood up to the mayor's bullying. So thank you for doing the job you were elected to do. Now, I'm here tonight to talk about the council meeting 2 weeks ago. Someone was questioning the figures that were given, saying they were false. And I just want to be clear that the figures and statements that I was quoting were indeed facts. I'm passing out everything pertaining to the 2018 Fire Engineering's technical memorandums for Lake Mitchell Rehabilitation Project Phase 1. Notice it doesn't say lake restoration, as the mayor likes to say it. On page 55, number 1, 7.3 says, costs were developed to provide perspective of what it would take to reach only a 50% load reduction. Table 12, page 56. Table 13 shows how much it would cost to reduce phosphorus levels in Firesteel Creek by only 50%, approximately $53 million. Remember, these are Fire Engineering's figures, not mine. Number 2, at the May 1st, 2023 City Council meeting and also reported in the May 1st, 2023 Mitchell Republic, Eric Lund from Bar Engineering stood before most of you, except Mr. Bathke and Mr. Goldhammer, and stated, when speaking about dredging the lake, until the Firesteel Creek input is significantly reduced, we're going to have a problem whether we 100% dredge or 100% alum treat it. And the plan is only to dredge approximately 50% of the lake. Number 3, then on the information Everblue Lakes provided, page 33, it states, with dredging and alum solutions alone, the cycle of decline is guaranteed to begin as soon as the dredge or alum barge leaves the lake. Is that true or false? Fact or fiction? Don't know. Second page, the 2018 Fire Engineering Technical Memorandum for Lake Mitchell Rehabilitation Project Phase 2. Next page, page 21. 6.1 says, one item for consideration is that funding the next project begins soon. The lake will begin silting in again once this project is complete. Is that true or false? Fact or fiction? I'm going to say it's fact because both companies said the same thing. Again, that's Fire Engineering's words, not mine. And let's not forget, on the October 16th, 2023 council meeting, Steve Donovan, the biologist working on the wetland upstream, said, in front of all of you here, we have to impact tens of thousands of acres to make a difference. Tens of thousands of acres to make a difference. And I believe you, Mr. Dosher, even asked him that again. And then on another subject that has nothing to do with that, I have a question about the Lake Mitchell informational meeting at the Corn Palace. Does someone have to pay rent for the building, or can anyone have a lake meeting there? Does anybody have to pay rent, or can anybody have a lake meeting there? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council?
My name is Joe Kippis. I'm with Friends of the Firesteel. Just, I guess, some review. I believe that the Phase 2 FIRA report was presented in June of 2018. That was the conclusion that they came to as far as what was the correct countermeasure for our lake. And it was clear in that report that to correct our lake, we needed to do two things. We needed to have a remedy for the in-lake phosphorus, and we need to have a remedy for the phosphorus that comes in on Firesteel Creek. And I believe I've heard one number said 47% of the phosphorus in our lake comes from the floor of the lake, another one said 48%. And then, of course, the same was said about the watershed. One said 53%, another number said 52%. So it was given at two different times. But it's clear that not quite 50-50, but there's large contributions coming from both sources, and that's why we need to have a remedy that addresses both sources. And there was a 2-year period. I'm going to say two because I'm just going off my memory, but it seemed this was in the previous mayor's term. He was in there for 3 years, so I believe it was probably 2 years where the Lake Advisory Committee was working with FIRA trying to develop this plan. And we had meetings monthly, And these meetings were open to the public every month. We had a reporter from the Daily Republic that sat in these meetings and reported on it. And so there was plenty of opportunity if there was people who didn't agree with this approach. At some point, you have to say, okay, we've done our research, we've got to pick a path. And so at that point, we selected this path. But there was almost 2 years where people could have attended, they could have offered their opinions, they could have listened to what was happening, and they could have perhaps persuaded, or they could have offered at least what their thoughts were on it. But we didn't have a lot of public input at those meetings, even though every one was open to the public, and the public was welcomed. So I guess now here we are from 18 to now, so 6 years later, now we're going to tear the foundation back out and say we got to start over with something else. Because we can't deny that our,
That's your time.
okay.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else wish to address council? Okay. With that, we'll move on to Board of Adjustment. Entertain a motion for City Council to recess, sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer,
Second.
second by Mrs. Charks. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing and action on the application of Ron Peterson for a conditional use permit. Ron Peterson has applied for a conditional use permit for a multifamily dwelling located at 1100 block of South Lawler Street, legally described as lots 6, 7, and 8. Block 18, Weaver Square Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property is zoned HP Highway Business. Mr. Jenigas.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent. It was noticed in the paper, signs were posted, neighbors were notified as well. There were 2 letters returned in favor of this. The applicant would like to build a fourplex on this land, which is a conditional use for highway business. It was rezoned a few years ago to highway business from R3, which in R3 would have also been a conditional use as well. As you probably are well aware, he purchased the old SPN building, and that's the building he's moving over there to do 2 apartments on the first floor and 2 on a lower floor, 4 garages attached with it as well. Applicants here, if you have any questions, or I can answer any questions you have for me as well.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to address this?
Pete,
Okay.
thanks for helping us with our housing issue.
A little bit, maybe.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. 1 abstention. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 3/18/24. Tara Valesky has applied for conditional use permit for a multifamily dwelling located at 2221 East Havens, legally described as Lot 2 in the northeast quarter of Lot 3B, in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter, except H1, and west 7 rods of Lot 1, in the northeast quarter of west 7 rods of northeast quarter of northeast, except H1, of Section 26, Township 103 North, Range 60 West to the 5th Prime Meridian, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property is UD Urban Development.
Move to set the date.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer,
Second.
second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 3/18/24. Erica Hennessy has applied for conditional use permit to operate an educational institution located at 1325 Palmer Place, legally described as Lot 5 and west 3 feet of Lot 4, Block 8, Garden View Addition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property is zoned R2, single family.
Set the date.
Motion by Mrs. Charks,
Second.
second by Mr. Goldhammer. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Entertain a motion for Board of Adjustment to adjourn City Council reconvene regular session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing an action on the application to transfer RB 2851 zero retail on-off malt beverage and South Dakota Farm Wine license from VV Inc., doing business as The Garage, 909 North Olman, Suite Number 3, to VV Inc., doing business as The Garage, 508 East Haven, Suite Number 3. Video lottery is included. Mr. Coster, any issues?
Mayor and Council, Chief Coster with the Police Department, we have no concerns of this transfer. Recommend approval.
Motion by Mr. Sabers. Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to award bid for asphalt concrete crushing project 2024-9. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council, bids were open on February 27th in City Hall Council Chambers at 1:30. 4 bids were received, with the low bid being by Zacharias Construction, Inc. for $251,250. The bid tabulation is attached for your information. The project is slightly over budget by approximately $1,250. The bid is a unit cost bid and will crush the actual material on site. It appears that we have more material out there than what we have estimated. We'll bring a change order back to council to approve for those additional funds. And with that, staff does recommend awarding the bid to Zacharias Construction. I can answer any questions you may have.
Is this an annual thing that we do, or how, just like when you run out, you do another project? Or?
When our pile starts to get big,
Okay.
we
When
look
you-
at crushing.
Yeah, it's the other way around. It's
Yep.
when the pile's big. Okay.
Yep.
And is this, I mean, obviously your estimate was pretty darn close.
Yes, and
So-
the crushing cost is less, costs less than what we buy gravel for.
Okay, great. I'll
What is
move
the benefit?
approval of Zacharias Construction.
Motion by Mrs. Chuck, second by Mr. Bathke. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve agreement A 2024-12 VW Truck Program Rebate Agreement with the State of South Dakota, Project 2024-18. Mr. Schrader?
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council, at the January 16th, 2024 council meeting, you approved our application for this grant, and since we have been awarded, the grant is an amount up to 35%, not to exceed $79,723.70. And with that, staff recommends City Council approval and to authorize the mayor to sign on their behalf.
Motion by Mr. McCardle,
Second.
second by Mr. Goldhammer. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2024-15, adding a hotel to Business Improvement District 4 and appointing a representative therefrom to the Business Improvement District Board. Mr. Johnson.
All right, so we've been in the process of expanding let me back up. We've been in the process of replacing our old bid, implementing this new bid. One of the provisions with the new bid was that we added a provision that we were able to add new hotels by resolution, and that is part of what we're doing here tonight. The My Place Hotel will be going into operation within the near future. I don't know that there's a specific date on that for a grand opening or anything, but I believe they're already or will be soon taking reservations. We want to make sure that they are aware that they need to account for that bid tax when they're doing that. So this will get them added to that district, make sure that they're collecting that tax from day one. In addition, we were in the process and recently did expand that board for bid 4 to add an additional 2 hoteliers. Earlier tonight, you approved mayor's appointment of 1 member to that. The mayor would also like to appoint a member from the My Place Hotel, and the other part of this resolution would be confirming the mayor's appointment of that representative. With that, I can open it up to any questions.
As you recall, we were asked to put 2 hoteliers south of the interstate. This one is south of the interstate next to Cabela's. And Mr. Folkerts had expressed an interest in placing a person on that bid board. So we obliged him, or I obliged him for that appointment. if approved by council.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer,
Second.
second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this?
We just stayed overnight in Omaha this last weekend, and our fees, our room was like $215 or something. The fees were $117. And I'm like, ours are only $2. I mean, everybody needs to just stay overnight in Mitchell, because it's a heck of a deal.
That's set by state law, too, by the way.
I know, I just was amazed.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Second reading on ordinance O 2024-02, supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2024. Ms. Allwine?
I did walk through the ordinance during first reading, and I can certainly answer any questions that council has. We have not made any changes to the ordinance from the first reading. And then the only other point that I'd like to make is just for everyone to remember that the budget is really a working, fluid document. It represents a snapshot in time. So when you're looking at those estimated fund balances, that changes depending on where you are in the year. And obviously, as the finance office finishes their annual report from 2023, there'll still be some adjustments made on there. But we did spend a lot more time this year getting a closer estimate of what those actual fund balances will be for council's information. Like I said, I can answer any questions that you have for anyone in the public who's watching the information. We do have a summary sheet in the agenda item request as well. There was a public presentation on the current financial status at the last council meeting, and I did add that to the agenda from the last meeting as well, so anyone can go back and find it there as well. I can answer any questions council might have.
Questions?
I'll move to approve the supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2024.
On second reading?
On second reading.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Charks. Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Motion to adopt? Motion by Mr. Smith.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Charks. Discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this adoption? Okay, roll call, please.
Bathke. Aye. Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Goldhammer.
Aye.
Dosher. McCardle.
Motion carries. Update for council's information on Firesteel Creek watershed. One thing I would like to point out before Mr. Schrader gets started on this is we are going to bring back the Watershed Advisory Committee. I'm starting to put together names for that. If anybody has an interest in being on that, it will be a working committee. By all means, there is a form on the city website that can be filled out, letting us know you have an interest in it. And we'll be putting probably roughly 8 people. We don't know yet, but we're working on that number and working out the final details, just for your information.
Can you give us just a little bit of a background, Mayor, of kind of what you're expecting this committee?
I think Mr.
accomplish?
Schrader,
You're gonna-
well, we're actually looking at it as working with producers in the watershed, as well as trying to pinpoint projects that might work for us in the watershed. They'll be working with the NAUCA people to help spend our NAUCA grant money. We're going to work with USDA to help as far as getting programs in front of producers that may help with fixing the watershed and doing things within the watershed. I think Mr. Schrader might touch on that just a little bit more as we get going here.
Yep, I think you got it pretty much right. We're basically want this group of people to identify and work with producers on federal programs and develop federal programs. The program RCPP, I can't remember what the acronym is for. You deal with NRCS and the feds, everything is acronyms. But you can actually put a project together for certain producers and apply for funding. It's just another tool that we could use in order to get additional dollars into our watershed for the appropriate practices that could be utilized that are friendly for Lake Mitchell as well as the producers. So if there are any other questions with that, I'll get started on the little bit I had put
I
together.
answer your question. Okay.
All right, so we put together some information on what we are working on in the watershed. Sure. First, update on the NACA grant. That's our North American Wetlands Conservation Act grant. The project was awarded on September 4th of 2020. It was a $1 million grant. The city matched this grant with the purchase of the property that was formerly known as the Kelly property. Currently, there are 3 completed projects within that grant. We show the affected acres, 66, 59, and 25. Currently in development, obtaining permits and final agreements. We have 436 acres for restoration and 730 acres of easement. And there's also one other active restoration project north of Plankington that affects approximately 101 acres. If all these projects are, well, 3 are already completed, but if the remainders are completed, we'll be up to 716,000 of that total. There are also 4 active projects that are still in conversations with the producers, working at getting agreements and what their projects look like. Mr. Donovan is confident that within the next year, he thinks he will have our NACA grant completed. He does think we'll need an additional 1-year extension, which we are allowed through the grant to complete it, but he's confident that he does see the path forward in getting this completed after, to be honest, the last couple of years of a lot of roadblocks and a lot of frustrations just due to commodity prices being very high and farming being very lucrative as having crops on the ground.
Joe, can I ask you a question? So on the little map, what is the highlighted portion? What does that represent?
That just shows our watershed. The highlighted portion on the bottom is an area that flows in 2 different directions. Once the water gets high enough in that area, it will flow into the Firesteel Creek watershed, and I believe it does flow also to the east.
So the rest of that is not our watershed, or I guess I'm not.
That is our
Oh,
watershed.
it's our watershed, so
Yep, that's our lake right there. The little blue dot's our lake.
Huh?
The little
Yeah,
blue
I see
dot.
that. So there's a little highlighted portion down at the very bottom.
Yep, the water gets high enough,
Oh, then that's.
then it comes our way, and if it isn't, it goes the other way.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Okay, I understand.
Into our non-point source dollars. So the James River Water Development District has a plan that they work with producers every year on projects that our non-point source dollars assist in paying for. I went ahead and I took the years 2019 through 2023, put the total projects together with the total costs and the non-point source project share. So the difference between those $2 amounts would be what the producers were responsible for. These projects include riparian area management, so buffer strips and that type of work, water for cattle, fencing, trees and fabric, grass establishment, and cover crops. They also are eligible for any projects such as water, wetland work, stream checks, sediment traps, those types of projects, but they're just not as popular to the individual producer. And that's where we feel that this advisory committee could step in and help producers say, hey, there could be a good project at this location that could benefit you in this way that they might not realize.
I think one thing, just to reiterate for maybe people who haven't heard this conversation before, the non-point source grant funds are tied to our wastewater
Stormwater.
projects that we've done, stormwater improvement projects. So when we have one of those that we've gotten a SRF grant for, we get grant funds tied to it, and they can be put back into the watershed.
Correct.
So when, like the grass establishment cover crops, is that like the CRP program? And does the CRP program apply to some of these areas that would be,
So CRP is its separate own program through the Farm Service Agency. But yeah, the way CRP works is you are paid for those. This year, you can use it. CRP has certain restrictions on, say, cattle and haying, whereas here you could plant, let's say, a field to grass where they would pay for that grass, and then you could use that piece of property as you feel necessary.
it's not as restricted.
Correct. Thank you.
We try to work with CRP and other entities to make this more appealing to the producers.
The way that this program is tracked, it's harder to establish acres affected. So we look at dollar amounts to kind of gauge on, how that year went and then the averages. And then lastly, our Ducks Unlimited Wetland Project. That project was awarded on July 17th of '23. The project bid amount was $583,000, or $584,000. And this project is being funded by our non-point source grant funds. The project will start in August of this year with a completion in 2024, and that will be 37 acres of constructed wetlands. There's a figure for you to see what that kind of looks like. We are working on a potential additional wetland project, sediment removal project west of the lake, that hopefully we'll have more information on here in the next month in front of this group. And with that, I can answer any questions you may have.
I think just for council and just the general public too, I did just upload this presentation onto the agenda, so you can find it under that item on the city agenda for tonight.
Okay? Anything for Joe?
Joe, we've, obviously the Kelly property, we've got 37 acres that we're going to start working on, with partnership of Ducks Unlimited. And then the West End Bridge is a mile away. And we control the water in between there. Have we started to try to figure out exactly the plan of how we want to develop that stretch? Because obviously that's going into the mouth of Lake Mitchell.
Yep.
And yeah, you can see how it's kind of curved there, and it looks like it'd be some prime area for us to possibly do some additional planning with that.
Yep. So that area does include a spot that I said we are looking at an additional project that I'm hoping to bring forward in the next month to this group. So there'll be more information with that to come. Part of that area is included in the $1 million of the mouth of the lake that's included in our Lake Mitchell project. So that will encompass that area.
That's the additional sediment trap he's talking about.
Correct. As well. And yeah, we are having Bar look at this area to see a better way to utilize the throat area where it's the best point to take out sediment if it reaches that point. And again, with the drawdown, we would have the opportunity to draw the lake down and remove sediment deposits within those areas. So yeah, it's a very crucial point for Lake Mitchell.
When is the drawdown supposed to be completed, Joe?
So the drawdown, in an ideal scenario, we would bid that this fall with a drawdown in '25, in the fall.
And just another point of clarification. So we own the waterway, or if it's, do we own any, what do we own up there?
So we own the majority of the property around up through what was the Kelly property.
Okay.
So DANR will allow us to do projects that are permitted through them. So, we present them a plan and they say yes or no. Technically, we have that authority all the way through the watershed. That's specifically the water channel.
In the water, yeah.
In the water, that's
In
what
the
I,
water.
what my
But that makes projects difficult because without it, adjoining property agreement, it just makes projects that much more difficult.
Yeah, we could stay above the high water mark because that's considered all public water. It's navigable. by the state of South Dakota. So,
So by using the drawdown, then you're able to have greater access by lowering the water.
Well, it's a benefit to us as we do own the majority of the property in the area where the water is going to be drawn down. So it would just allow us easier access to sediment deposits for us to be, the potential to clean out.
Thanks.
okay, anything else?
When do you anticipate this committee to be up and going, Bob?
Well,
Any
we're
idea?
starting to talk to people now, so anybody interested, we'll look at them and hopefully get it going within the next 2 to 3 weeks,
Oh, wow.
quickly.
Awesome.
So, okay,
And then we're going to have some representatives of the city that are going to be on that
yes,
committee also. And the meetings will be held in city council chambers.
probably in this room right here, I would guess, yes. So they
Obviously open to the public.
could be open to the public, yes. We got all the details we haven't quite got worked out yet, but we're moving that direction, so, okay? Anything else? Okay, entertain a motion to enter into executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law 125, 1, and 4.
Can I have 1 second to just congratulate the colonels, boys and
Oh,
girls,
sure.
for going to, you didn't give me a chance during public commentary.
You gotta be
I was
quicker.
on the, I know, I was on the, like, and then you moved on.
All right.
But I just think, we got to raise a glass to,
Well, I figure we're
Diet
gonna,
Pepsi.
we're gonna
to the
celebrate
boys
the
and girls
championship here, Susan.
colonels.
so-
I know. What a great thing for Mitchell. This is our gymnastics. We just have so many things to celebrate. So
we do.
congratulations to the athletes at Mitchell High School.
Okay. All right, now entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goldenhammer, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. No action will be taken after executive. I just assumed we'd do it when they won the state title, Susan.
Unmute, and then I'll get over there and. Right now, this is what it's showing.
We've had some officers that take all 12 weeks. Oh, sure. I
wonder why.
I had to take a picture of this email that this letter had.
I mean, I'm sure it's just like a formula, like